lot of the votes are very difficult, and that's what you're really paid to do, is go up there and make decisions, and you're not promised easy decisions. Trade votes are very hard because there's a concern that cheap overseas labor is going to take jobs from Georgia. So votes like NAFTA, where you have and that's the North American Free Trade Agreement, you had Georgia industry that really wanted it, but then you had the people who worked in those factories who said, heck no, we don't want that because it's going to take our jobs. And all trade agreements were like that. I opposed NAFTA, but as time went on and the world became far more economically integrated, trade is just part of the world. So I have supported other trade agreements, but I'd say trade agreements are always tough. And by the way, they're bipartisan in terms of the opposition. Very strange bedfellows in terms of trade votes. Impeachment, very difficult because you're cast in to impeach the President of the United States. It's not a political vote, it's an international vote, it's a philosophical vote. And in the case against President Clinton, there were 4 separate votes, and I voted for all 4 of them. But lots of disagreement on it, which is why the Senate actually killed the legislation. Although we as the House felt like they did not let the witnesses, the Senate process was somewhat rigged, but still you have to respect the system because those are very, very tough votes. And so that would be an example. Another one, use of force, where you're sending America's military to wars that could escalate and become another world war. Those again are bipartisan. They're votes of conscience. Those people, hard votes. Another example is stuff that get to these year-end budget agreements where you could not get a traditional budget agreement with the Senate. Maybe all the appropriation bills got bundled up into one and it's an omnibus bill. Those bills that are always trillion-dollar bills, very hard for people to find good things in them. I mean, it's always a 49-51% decision, and some of those I've supported, some of them I've opposed. The safest vote is generally no, because you can always say, look at all the bad things that were in it. But sometimes, the no vote does not serve to move the ball forward. One more example, government shutdowns. We've had, I think something like 17 shutdowns in the last 25 years, going back to about 1974. And, when you vote to shut down the government is easier than voting to reopen it. Because once you shut it down, one party can shut down the government. It takes 2 parties, generally speaking, to reopen it. And then you have to have the president on board. And you shut down the government as a last result for budget negotiation. In most cases, you come back with some sort of agreement that, okay, we're going to reform the budget, we're going to change something. And so that's why you go through that. But those are tough votes.